Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Okay, Dana, I've been in anticipation about part two.
I know. It's just so good. I mean, honestly, Linda, and this was only John. Like, Rory Vaden talked, Katie Casada talked, Mac Lake talked. I mean, just so, who else am I forgetting? Oh, Daryl Black, this amazing pastor out of Tampa, Florida. I mean, so many good ones. But today we're going to talk about the last part of John's, and it was on being a one percenter. And I talked a little bit about this at the end of the last episode, but he said one percenters make trade-offs that allow them to continue to climb higher and travel further. And you have to give up to go up. So his definition of a trade-off is give up something of value to pursue something of even greater value. And he said, and this is one thing that I thought was just great that he said, and it's funny to like think about it, but it's so true. He said, the dream is free, but the journey isn't. And the journey requires trade-offs. So the question everyone has to ask is, am I willing to give up what I have now to get where I'm going? Like, that's technically a trade-off. Am I willing to give up what I have now to get where I'm going? And he said, when we get a little success, we want to hang on to it. And that's totally normal. Like, you don't want to leave something because you have a little success. So we get a little success and we're like, okay, we want to hang on to it. And in fact, I did a call with an agent yesterday in one of my offices who I love so much. And she said, Dana, the reason why I asked you for a call is because last year I made $200,000. This year I made $400,000. And I love my life. I love my life so much this year, so much more than last year. She said, I don't want to go back to the 200,000. So she's like, help me know what I need to leverage. What do I need to do? So, and I said, girl, next year you can do 600,000 if you make the right decisions. Mm-hmm. But it is true because you have to give up something. It's a trade-off. And so he said, think about it this way. You don't leave something, you go to something. And so often we think we're leaving something or we're, missing something or whatever, but really.
Or we can't see what we're going to, so it's harder. I always say when the pain of staying where you are is great enough, you'll let go and go to that brighter future. But the problem is sometimes the brighter future isn't as easy to know what that will be.
Yep. Yes, it's so true. And he talked about that. So we've talked about this a lot, but he started with the difference between success and significance. Significance is about others. Success is about you. But he said, and this is so true, you'll never in your life meet an unhappy, significant person. But he said, I've met so many unhappy, successful people. Mm. And he said, when your life is about significance, you will never meet somebody who's unhappy, who has a significant life. But if it's been only about them and only about success or only about chasing money, he said, you'll meet people that are unhappy in that space all the time. And that's a great reminder in itself, to not want to be that. So he said, when you don't have much, trade-offs are easy. But he said to get the last 9% to be a one percenter, you have to have trade-offs. So he listed 7, and I'll just run through them real quick. Number 1, trade-offs stand between where you are and where you need to go. And he said, with every person, there's some sort of trade-off that's standing between where they are and where they need to go. He said it could be time. It could be they're not willing to invest the money. It could be they aren't investing in themselves. It could be, they need to let somebody go to bring somebody better on, whatever it is. But there's some sort of trade-off that's standing between where you are and where you need to go. Number 2, trade-offs never leave us the same. He said, once you make the trade-off, then things should change. And so he said, sometimes you have to make a dramatic change to go up. Mm-hmm. So, when you think about that, even just my little example of getting out of real estate to getting into the team leader role, I mean, my life was never the same. I've never sold real estate since then. Well, that's not true. I came out of retirement one time for Sarah Weber on a really bad deal. But other than that, so he said a real trade-off will never leave you the same. Like it will make everything change. Number 3, trade-offs are not easy or comfortable or natural. So you just have to know that and push through. He said human nature wants us to stay where we're comfortable. And it's really unfortunate, but he said, when you just never want to get to the point where you make your last climb because
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like, you're done. He said actually he didn't give us these, but he said in his life he's had 7 major trade-offs that he can remember. And he said 5 out of the 7 major trade-offs he went down or less. Like he went backwards. And he said it's because he had it had more potential. He said he either made less money, he was going to a smaller number of people or a smaller organization or whatever it was. But he said when he looks back on it, and this is so true, oh my gosh, I've felt this before. He said it was when he started to feel leadership claustrophobic, he knew that he needed a specific change. And he said sometimes we feel like we can feel a little claustrophobic, like things are starting to just close in on us. And he said usually if you're having that feeling, then that's when like you might need to be thinking about a trade-off. You might need to be thinking about some sort of major change that you've had or that you need to have.
And this was John, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So think about that. 5 out of the 7 major ones that he's had, he took less money, went to a smaller organization, led smaller people, whatever it was. But he said that they were so significant that it completely propelled him to the next level. But at the time he went way backwards. Number 4, he said, the higher you climb, the tougher the trade-off. So he said, he said, respect is earned on difficult ground, which we've all heard when you swim upstream. But every time you do hard, then you do harder. And so he said, like, the higher you go, whether that's with wealth or leadership or, whatever, the harder the trade-off is. Because he said you want to be like, man, do I really have to do a trade-off at this point?
Yes, that's so true. God.
Yeah. But he said trade-offs require a lot of courage. When you're comfortable, then, you want to make a trade-off. But when you're, it just requires a lot of courage. But then he said this, which I loved so much. I highlighted this. Some people are one trade-off from a huge, big life. And that's just, that's deep to think about. Like when I go back and process through this, I'm really going to be thinking about what that could be. But he said some people are just one trade-off from a huge life. Number 5 was a quick one. The higher you climb, the harder it becomes, but the greater you become. And so he said, just know that it does get harder, but you become greater. And, the journey is what it's about. Number 6, trade-offs create an environment for growth, meaning you learn faster. So even if you're going backwards, you should still be learning quicker.
Yeah.
And that's true. Like I can think of many times in your life too. Where you like, it just gets you in a space. And I think it's because you have to, because you're like, crap, I just made this trade-off. So I got to learn as much as I can.
Yeah. It's really the 4 C's over and over and over again.
Yes, it totally is. And he said, this is the part that reminded me of Gary, which you just said. He said, pioneers go first. They pave the way. But then you want others to pass you. He said, the one thing when you're a pioneer is you will be greatly misunderstood. And he said, in the beginning, you're crazy, but then when you pull it off, you're amazing.
Yeah.
And I think at that point he talked about Steve Jobs, and he gave some examples of a few other people. But he said, never forget that average people want you to stay average. He said, you have to move from training people to transforming people. Because when you get to a certain level on your climb, the trade-off may be that you're not really training them anymore. You're actually figuring out how you transform those people. And he said, if you're a have to know before you go type person, you may get there, but when you do, there will already be a whole crowd of people ahead of you. And I was like, that's good.
That's real good.
So Linda, what that told me is our quick starts are a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not, but in this situation, they are, because he said so many people are like, they have to know everything before they make a move. And he said, you might get there eventually, but just trust me when I tell you that if you're that type of person, when you get there, the room will already be crowded. Like people have gotten their way before you. So he said, you start before you know, then you go so that you can know, like you can really know what's going on. And that was number 7. Sorry. No, it wasn't. It was before that. Okay. Number 7 is the last one. Trade-offs require confidence to cross the bridge of security. And I was like, what does that mean? Trade-offs require confidence to cross the bridge of security. But then he said this. He said, when I'm telling you about trade-offs, what I mean by this is never trade your calling. So like whatever your calling is, that would never be something that you would trade. You would never have a trade off of your calling. And what he meant by that, he gave the example. So he said his calling is art. It has always been two things: leadership and evangelism. And so he said you can make trade-offs on the inside of all of those things, but never on the actual calling. So he's never going to make a trade-off that would keep him from not being able to be in leadership or be in evangelism, because those are his callings. And so he said, as a leader, sometimes you have to remember you'll actually leave people that you love because they're not coming on the trip, and that's okay. But he said, and I've thought of you, not one person will stop me from reaching my God-given calling. Like, it's not happening, period, the end. And he said, when you know that, then you can make tons of other trade-offs, but you're never making trade-offs on your calling, because no one or no thing will stop you from reaching your God-given calling. But then the last thing he said on trade-offs, which I thought was great, is make trade-offs now, because no one can make them for you. And so if you're thinking like, oh, I'll just wait, or, or till whatever happens. But he said, like, you are the only person that can make a trade-off. People can't make trade-offs for you.
Well, and I think too, the more successful you get, the harder it is. Even though you've made trade-offs in the past, I think the harder it is to keep making those trade-offs.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It's like when you don't have anything, the trade-offs seem easier. But as you grow more successful, I would think that it gets harder and harder for those trade-offs because you have more at risk, and you're more comfortable.
You're more, that's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. You're more comfortable. So you're kind of like, well, I don't need to make a trade-off. I'm comfy, where I'm at right now. But that's why people stay 10%ers, and that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Not everybody is a 1%er, but a 1%er doesn't stay comfortable. Like that's why he said, to get the last 9% to be a 1%er, you just are going to have trade-offs at every single level. It's just whether you choose, to make the trade-off or not.
Wow, that's so true. That's good stuff, man. I'm glad you went to that event.
I know. It's so good. I mean, there's just so much more. So much more, but I just loved everything. I mean, he was just on it, not that he's ever not on it, but he was just on it. One more thing I want to share with you, because I thought this was really good, and then we'll go. One person asked he and Mark, when they were doing it together, about the second chair person, and we talked about that on the last episode, of how that first chair always has a great second chair. And so he said that they gave us this example, but he said, you really need to do this, that they came together and said, okay, John's the first chair, Mark's the second chair. In order for us to have a 50-year relationship, or, whatever that is, and to really both succeed, he said, we had to ask ourselves, what do you need from me in this season? Each of you. Like, the first chair said, second chair, what do you need from me? And the second chair said, first chair, this is what I need from you. So, like, let's just say, for example, you're the first chair, I'm the second chair. I would say, Linda, these are the things I need from you right now for me to really be able to take it from the next level. And you would say, okay, but Dana, here's the things I need from you to be able to stay in this seat to get to the next level. And their answers weren't what I thought they were, but they were so great. And I'll send you these, because I think this would be so good for you. For like your next second chair, he said, what John needed from Mark was proximity. Like, he just needed to be in his proximity. He needed authenticity, meaning he needed John to tell him the good and the bad. He needed significance, because to Mark, it's really important about wanting to make a difference. He needed respect, because he said everybody respected John, but not a lot of, not the people who didn't respect Mark, but they didn't respect Mark like they respected John. So he said, I needed John to find me believable if anybody else was going to find me believable. Like, John needed to really believe in him. He said he needed his belief, his wisdom, his empowerment. He needed his networking. And then he needed his platform. And when he said networking, John actually said that he's told many people this: look, I can get you in the room, but it's your responsibility to stay in the room. And I thought that was so good. But then they turned around and John said, okay, these are the things that I need from you, Mark. I need your heart. I need your heart to be aligned with me. So when John went back to the faith question, he said, not every person on our team is a Christian, but he said the second seat person for me, it would have to be, because that's so important to me. But then he said, number 2 after your heart is, I need performance. Like, it's a new day every day. So if we won yesterday, we have to win again tomorrow. And he said, Mark, if you're going to stay in the second seat, I need performance from you. he said, I need peer buy-in. And John said, not from your peers, but from my peers. So he said, like, he would have Mark come to a table with all of John's peers. And John said, in order for Mark to stay in that seat, I needed to know that my peers wanted to have a relationship with Mark too, not just with me, John, as the first chair. And then he said he needed his energy, because John said he has high energy. So he needed Mark to match his energy. He needed potential, trust, a teachable spirit, emotional strength, reliability. And then his last one, he said, was one of his most important, and that was protection. And he said, over our brand, over my name, over my calling, like, I just needed Mark, if he's going to be in the second chair, I needed him to protect me and to protect what we built. But he said, if you are in that first, second seat, he said, then you should really get with that person, or think about this for the future person, and ask that question, like, what do you need from me? And what do you need from me? And really think through, like, on a deep level, and come up with it. And he said, then, like, what does each word mean to you? Like, okay, I need you to perform. Okay, well, what does that actually mean to you? Because he said that's kind of like the expectation conversation. Like, you know, what do you want the outcomes to be? What do you expect?
Yeah.
But I just thought that was so great.
That is good, honestly. And I think it would solve a lot of issues, because sometimes I think when someone's been with you long enough, I think they stop listening to you.
Yeah.
They stop, you know, looking for the wisdom and the education and training that they've looked for you before.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. He just said that to them, like, this was when they talked about passing the baton. And he just said, you know, if you're in a situation, like, I'm not, well, you could be like, I even thought about, I should have this with the team leaders, just to say, like, hey, in this season, you know, but even at a higher level, when you're thinking of passing a baton, he said, like, that they would never do that without this type of a deep conversation. And they actually have these, they each came up with their 10 needs. They actually have them printed out and laminated on a one piece of paper. And John carries around the ones that are the 10 needs that Mark needed from him. And Mark carries around the 10 that John needs. Isn't that so good?
Which, by the way, when you're talking to your team leaders, tell them thank you very much. Our region was #1 this month. Yay.
Praise the Lord. Yay. Oh my gosh.
So tell all your team leaders thank you.
Yeah, to the whole region. That's amazing. November's going to be even better. November's going to be a huge month, I feel like. Lots of great movement. So that's great.
I love that. Laminated idea.
Yeah, so good.
All right. Love it, Dana. Okay, well, I guess we'll continue this conversation next week. And if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Dana and I is to two things. One, give us a great review so people who don't know us can find us. And number two, pass this along to anybody you know that would enjoy these kind of conversations. And if you would like for us to talk about an opportunity, a challenge, or a question that you might have, or a guest that you would like to hear on our podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Oh, and Dana, we didn't get to talk about it, but I'm excited about your book. So next podcast, we're going to open up with us talking about your book. It's super exciting, and the book looks amazing.
Thanks. I'm so excited about it. And actually, I will be able to talk about it then, because the website is going live. So we'll have to do an episode. I'm pumped. I need everyone to help me hit my goal.
Awesome. You got it. All right. Talk to you next week. See ya.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.